Hi everyone, it's Laura here, and in today's video I'm going to share with you how to create this cute 3D house using SVG files by scrapbook.com and stamps by Waffle Flower. I started by using the Little Houses SVG cut file by scrapbook.com to cut some Bristol Smooth cardstock. I have the front and the back of the house with the side walls too. This is the roof, which has an opening for the chimney, and you see it has also a scalloped edge. This cutout here is the one that will help me create the chimney, and then I also have a lot of decorative elements. This will create a little portico on top of my door. Here I have my door with the backing that will help me glue it to the house, and then we have a lot of decorative elements for the windows. We have some string lights, although I ended up not using them, and you have them in two different sizes, one that fits the front of the house and one that fits the sides of the house, and I also cut out this little wreath. The cut files include score lines, but as I've said already, I'm not entirely sure how to do that with the scan and cut machine other than having like cut dashed lines, if that makes sense, and I really didn't want that, so I'm using my scoreboard to score everything. I started from the roof that I folded and scored in half, and then I moved on and started adding score lines to the front of the house. I will have a score line basically where there is a corner between the side wall and the front of the house, one here with this little flap that is the one that will help me assemble the front and the back of the house together, and then these little flaps here that are the ones that will help us adhere the roof on top of the house. And if you're not entirely certain on where to add your score lines, in case you don't do it when you cut with your electronic cutting machine, you can always go ahead and look up the actual files that you get in the bundle, and there you will be able to tell where to place the score lines, which is what I did for the chimney here that I'm scoring right now. I also wanted to let you know that this file bundle actually includes 27 different files, and you can create a smaller house, that is the one that I will be creating today, and then you can also create a taller house. You could actually resize them and make them much smaller than what I've done today and use them to create an advent calendar, for example, or just a small winter village to decorate your home. There's so much you can do with this file. I was really excited when I saw it the first time, and I had a lot of fun playing with it. You also have different options for your house fronts and for the shapes of the windows, for example. So really there is a lot to play with, and if you are interested, I suggest you get it today or as soon as possible, because this is right now on sale as part of the scrapbook.com Black Friday sales, and you will have all the links in the description box down below if you want. Back to the project, once I was done folding the chimney, I went ahead and off camera added the score lines also to the back of my house in the same exact way as I did for the front, and then I started decorating it. I'm using this brick wall stencil by Heffy Doodle and my distress ink in pumice stone to add this pattern to the house. I'm going to do this all over the house, so on the front, on the sides and on the back. Obviously, if you wanted to, you could use patterned paper or colored cardstock, but I always like adding my personal touch with distress inks and stencils, like in this case, and I also find that I am able to color coordinate the different elements a little bit better this way. I'm not exactly sure why, but that's just what works best for me. Another thing you could do, for example, here is to use texture paste and have a brick wall white on white effect, which I think would look absolutely stunning. I was a little bit pressed for time, so I didn't do it, and I stuck to distress inks and mediums that didn't need a lot of drying time, but you can really play around a lot with these houses. I added the same brick wall stencil pattern to the chimney and to the back and other side of the house, and then I moved on and started working on the roof. For that I used fired brick distress ink, and I'm going to blend it over the entire surface of the roof. I initially was going to leave it plain, but I felt it was a little bit too plain, so I decided to use again that same brick wall stencil by Heffy Doodle to create a tone-on-tone effect. Because parts of the roof will stick out from the walls of the house, I am going to add some fired brick distress ink also on the edges of the bottom portion of the roof, so that everything is nice and neat. I worked my way around all the 4 edges, but as you can see, I did not extend my distress ink all the way towards the center of the roof, because that part will be inside the house, so I don't need to worry about that because it will not be visible. Once the roof was done, I moved on and started adding color to the door and to the back panel for the door. This also will not show through, but just in case I don't glue everything precisely, I thought it would be a good idea to add some color to the backing of the door as well. And by the way, there is also a cut file that would cut a door with hinges so that you can actually open the door. And there are some files that also cut shutters for the windows, which I think is absolutely cute. For the door, I used walnut stain distress ink, and then I coated it again with some vintage photo to warm it up a little bit. And for the frames of the windows, I used fired brick, which is the same color that I used for the roof, and this way everything ties nicely together. For the wreath, I used distress ink in the color Lucky Clover, and then I also created some ornaments using Nuvo drops. This is the color Ruby Slippers and it's red with glitter, so I thought it was just perfect for this purpose. I created tiny little ornaments all around my wreath, and then I put this aside to dry, away from my desk and from potential accidents, because at this stage you really don't want to mess up. This is the element for the porch, and I was going to create this stripy effect with another stencil by Heffy Doodle, but I realized afterwards that I had not centered it precisely, so I didn't really like the way it turned out. I think it would have been great if I had paid a bit more attention, but unfortunately it didn't happen, so I decided to blend my distress ink in fired brick over the entire panel, and I think it looks great this way too. Off camera, I stamped and colored images from the Waffle Flower Cookie Time stamp set. This set is so cute, and the moment I saw those cut files, I knew I was going to use them with these stamps. They're just too adorable. So I stamped them with alcohol-proof ink and colored them with alcohol markers, and then I moved on and started decorating the house, which was a very fun part of this project. I added frames around the windows, and then I placed my characters to create a little scene where the whole family is baking and the kittens are taking part too. One thing that I didn't show here in the video is that I backed all the windows with some acetate to make it look as if there is actual glass there. So I just added a little bit of double-sided tape behind the windows on the part of the house that is not visible, and then I adhered acetate. You can probably see it here a little bit where I am gluing down the backing for the door. I'm trying to line it as best as I can with the opening that was created by the cut files, and then before adhering the actual door, I'm going to back the opening on the door with some acetate too, and then I can use my tape runner to actually adhere the door to the front of my card. The next element is this scalloped portico that I'm going to adhere on the top of the door, and I'm using some double-sided tape here to adhere the flaps down because I feel this is a little bit more secure than liquid glue. I actually had tried with my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, but it was taking a little bit too long to dry. The glue is rather quick to dry, but for this kind of projects, I feel it's a little bit more convenient to have double-sided tape rather than liquid glue. For elements like the window frames and the images, though, I am using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive because it gives me that extra wiggle time that I find convenient for this type of elements. And then once I am done decorating the house front, I'm actually going to assemble the front and the back together. I used some double-sided adhesive and I added that to the flaps that stick out the side walls. I then adhered the two halves together, flipped over the card, and then I'm going to fold over the two free sides so that I can adhere those two together too. And this is basically what you do, for example, when you assemble a pop-up box card, so it's pretty simple as you can see. Before adding the roof to the house, I wanted to add the chimney to the roof. So again, I used some double-sided adhesive on all those little flaps, and I am first closing down the chimney so that I create the 3D structure, again folding the two free sides over and on top of each other. And then what I did is to remove the backing sheets of the adhesive that I have on the rest of the flaps. I then basically slid the chimney through the opening on the roof, and then I turned the roof over so that I could fold those flaps backwards and adhere them to the lower portion of the roof, so the part that will not be visible. I do hope that the video is clear and that I am explaining well what I'm doing. The overall assembly wasn't difficult at all. I had not tried this before filming the video and I didn't have any big issues at all. On the contrary, actually, it was pretty straightforward. The last step for the assembly of the house is to add the roof, and I first added some double-sided tape to all those tiny little flaps that I have all around the base of the house, and then I basically first placed down the roof so that it would be centered on the house, and then because the house is hollow on the bottom, I can go in with my hands and press everything together so that the roof is secured to the house. I added one extra image to one of the sides of the house and that finished off my project. And that's it for today. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below. I always love reading your feedback. You can find more pictures of this project on my blog and all the products that were used listed and linked in the description box down below. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe for more card making and paper crafting inspiration. And as always, thank you all so much for stopping by and have a great day.